Parliamentary Committee has called for the blanket ban on gambling advertising and a new tax to fund regulation of the industry. There are some of the 31 recommendations released. Here are a quick look at a few of them. The goal of reducing harm caused by problem gambling is the overriding aim. 4-step plan to phase out gambling ads over the next 3 years, beginning with a ban on inducements, a total ban on radio ads during school drop-off and pick-up hours. The next phase would see gambling ads removed from stadium billboards and player jerseys, as well as a blackout period covering an hour before and after live games. Phase 3 would outlaw all gambling ads between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m, leading to the final step, a total blanket ban. Let's have a look now. I spoke a short time ago to the Independent MP, Sophie Scomps, who made this observation about problem gambling in Australia.
Gambling is to Australia what guns are to the US. People are being harmed by this. Yes, that it may have a place, but we need to regulate it.
Tim Costello is live with me now. He's the Chief Advocate for the Alliance for Gambling Reform. Tim, thanks for your time. Great to see you as always. Momentum very much in this direction, but do you think a blanket ban is feasible, is viable?
Yeah, I do. I think it's absolutely feasible. Italy, Spain, Belgium already have blanket bans, and people shouldn't be confused. That's a ban on advertising. It's not a ban on sports betting. You can still bet, and I support adults having that freedom. But Italy, Spain, Belgium have said, why should kids be literally being groomed with an adult product? And we're familiar with that argument. We remember it 2 decades back, getting tobacco sponsorship out of sport, and we were told, oh, this will be the end of sport. It wasn't. We got alcohol sponsorship out of sport. It was the Foster's AFL Grand Final. Oh, this will be the end of AFL. How can it go on? It wasn't the end. We're going to hear those same scare cries, but it's feasible and we need to do it.
The industry says if there is a blanket ban, the media companies, they're going to miss out on a lot of revenue. What's your argument to that? Some of the good that they argue comes of investment in sport.
Look, the claim from the free-to-air media companies rather shocked me that we won't have sustainable free-to-air TV without sports betting. Shocked me because how did those CEOs allow themselves to become so dependent on an adult product that they know the rest of Australia has said this is outrageous. Children should not be seeing this. How did they allow that to happen? And in Italy, it was the same argument. Free-to-air companies going, oh, sports betting ads, we're in trouble. They have survived. They're doing fine. So the arguments that somehow this is really the end of the world is a well-worn path, but we know it's nonsense. We're not doing something radical here in Australia. We're playing catch-up. What's radical in Australia, Kieran, is that we have the greatest gambling losses of anywhere in the world, 40% higher than the nation that comes second. When it comes to sports betting, our losses per capita are 20% higher than anywhere else in the world. So we expect these cries of wolf, but we've heard them before and we see through them.
It looks like there's political momentum behind this at the moment. Would you agree with that assessment, particularly off the back of the Parliamentary Committee, but also the opposition leader, to be fair to him, he raised this prospect back at the budget reply in May?
Yes, so what we're seeing is both sides of politics picking up just the revulsion. Literally, Middle Australia had a collective psychic vomit over these sports betting ads. They said, it's hard enough to parent, but when our kids who love their league or AFL or cricket are actually seeing their heroes turned into betting odds, when 10-year-olds who don't know the difference between Marlboro cigarettes and Peter Stuyvesant, and it isn't that good, they once did, actually know the logos of the sports betting companies, the odds, the jingles. Now, both sides of politics are picking up this revulsion, and David Littleproud was one of the first to call for total bans. Peter Dutton was a little more cautious, maybe an hour before play, he said. Anthony Albanese was saying, well, yes, I don't really like them. So one thing politicians are good, it's actually wetting their finger, putting it up to the wind and feeling which way is the wind blowing. And they know that Australia really does hate this, particularly parents.
What did you think of Sophie Scomp's comparison? Well, first of all, I asked her about the fact that this is treated, and the committee wants this to be treated a strategy based on public health principles, is the way that they put it. But Sophie Scomp's a GP herself, said that she compared problem gambling in Australia to the scourge of guns in the US, that it's our equivalent. What did you make of that comparison?
Yeah, two comments. Firstly, there's not one health bureaucrat in any state health department, let alone federal health department, dealing with gambling. There is with tobacco, there is with alcohol and any other number of areas. This is really important to frame it as a health issue. And Sophie's right. I would be a little bit more tight and say that the gambling industry in Australia is our equivalent of the NRA. How have we got to the place of literally the greatest gambling losses in the world, and they've been untouchable, because the gambling industry, like the NRA, are so powerful. When we talk about gun violence, I would say every American has the right, under the Second Amendment, to carry a ball and musket rifle. Not to have semi-automatic rifles. What happened in Australia was coin-operated pokies didn't do much damage. You put two shillings in. When they became digital, when you could load up $10,000 in one go, they literally turned into semi-automatic rifles. And in that sense, the technology way outstripped the regulation, as semi-automatic weapons have outstripped the Second Amendment in America. So I think she's on the money there in saying this is so powerful, and it's our blind spot. Americans is guns. The rest of the world looks at us and they shake their head in disbelief at our losses here.
Tim Costello, advocate for the Alliance for Gambling Reform. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
A pleasure. Thanks, Kieran.